Hey guys, and welcome to our first video of week 4. In this video we're going to cover comparison operators, logical operators, and then we're going to get into a little bit of formatting our output from our select statements. But first I want to go ahead and go over the quiz from last week. I know there were a couple questions that people were somewhat confused on, so I just want to go over what I was actually looking for, as well as go over the answers to the other ones. So let's jump right into it. So question 1, what kind of SQL statement do we write to read or view our data? And the answer here is select. I know some of you got confused by this and answered read. Read is coming from our CRUD operations, and that's just an acronym we use for what generic type of operations we're executing, right? So we can use CRUD to refer to code or to SQL, but specifically here we're looking for what kind of SQL statement. So select star from northwind.dbo.employees. Question 2, below, provide the SQL to change who employee 9 reports to, specifically make employee 9 report to employee 3. So basically what we're doing here is we're saying, let's update employee 9 and set reports to equal to employee 3. And just so I have the column right. So we'll simply say update northwind.dbo.employees set reports to equal to 9, or I'm sorry, 3, where employee ID is equal to 3. And the reason we use employee ID instead of first name or last name or maybe another column is that in a large organization you could have many employees that have even the same name, John Smith, or with the same birth date, or maybe the same title. Title is maybe a bad example because there would be cases where we would want to update everybody who has title sales representative to report to a new sales manager. But for this case where we're updating one specific employee to report to another, we want to set, that should actually be 9. We want to set it by the employee ID. Question 3, and this one confused a lot of people. Do we always have to specify the database we are using to execute a SQL statement, i.e. select star from northwind.dbo.employees versus simply select star from DBO employees? The answer I was looking for here is false. And the reason I said it was false is that, granted, if we use the use statement, if we specify before we run the SQL, use Northwind, after we execute that statement, we do not have to continue to specify Northwind in our query. So technically speaking, yes, we always have to specify the database we're using. But in this question, I was excluding that use statement from the question, which I apologize, that was somewhat confusing. That was bad wording on my part. So if you answered it incorrectly, everybody got full credit on this. So just so we're all clear. Moving on to question 4, provide the SQL to view all orders placed after 1998. Basically, this is going to be select star from Northwind DBO orders where order date is greater than 1998 12-31. So this is giving me everything including January 1st, 1999. Now this could also be rewritten as greater than or equal to 19 990101. Either one would work. But we're going to get into the comparison operators here later in the video. And finally, question 5, provide the sequel to delete all orders placed by customer ID Hanar placed after 1997. So this is just going to be delete from northwind.dbo.orders where customer ID is equal to Hanar and order date is greater than 1997-12-31. Now, obviously, we could rewrite it with the greater than or equal to comparator and set that to 1998-01-01, but we'll just go with December 31st. Now, the other thing that tripped a couple people up on this was order date versus ship date. And if we look at our, if I can remember how to use Windows, if we look at our orders table, right, so select star from Northwind DBO orders, let's try this again. You can see, so in this order right here, you can see our order date is July 4th, 1996, but the ship date isn't until July 16th, 1996, which is almost a 2-week discrepancy between the order date and the ship date. And so if we used ship date instead of order date, we may be excluding certain orders from that select, right? So in this case, if we say ship date instead of order date, we are including orders that were placed before 1998 or during 1997. So we want to make sure that we always want to make sure that we're using the correct column when it comes to our selects or our where clauses. So that's the quiz. I've graded everybody who has submitted it. I know there's a few folks that still haven't submitted the quiz yet. If you watch this today, please go ahead and submit the quiz. For those of you guys that have not submitted the quiz yet, if it's not done by today, I will be marking down a couple points for lateness unless you give me a reason as to why it's late. So that to be said, let's jump into the first part of the video. So comparison operators, right? So when we're talking about comparison operators, we're talking about operators like equal, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, or not equal, which can also be written as exclamation equal, or bang equal if you prefer to call it that way. And so we can use these with certain data types, and I'm going to be getting into data types next week when we start going over table design. But for right now, we really only care about how to use these properly and how to use them to the best of our advantage, right? So we all should know about the equals operator, right? And so this is just going through and saying, give me everything that is equal to blank, right? So give me all employees whose first name is equal to Ann, or give me all orders where the customer ID is equal to VINet. So what about greater than? Well, we all know how to use greater than, right? So select star from orders where, select star from Northwind DBO orders where order date is greater than 1996. So let's start from, what don't you like about that? There we go. Did I type it wrong? No, I didn't type it wrong. So now we can, so now we've pulled back all of our orders that are greater than 1996. So pretty much every order from 1997. And then the less than operator, same thing, right? Or same concept, right? So now we're getting everything before 1996. There was nothing before 1996. So let's make this 1997. So now you can see all of our data is coming back, and it's pulling back every order from before 1997. Pretty self-explanatory, right? So now when we get into the less than or equal to operator, as denoted by this, so now this should give us everything from 1997 to 1996. Or I'm sorry, it should give us everything from January 1st, 1997 to January 1st, 1996. And as you can see, here's two rows that indicate 1997. And for sorting purposes here, let's say order by, order date. And we'll say, so now you can see that we have everything, or we have 1997, January 1st. And if we go all the way to the bottom, we have July 4th, 1996, which is apparently our first order of 1996, which seems weird. Okay, so same thing with the greater than operator, right? So the greater than operator is getting us everything past December 31st, 1997. Or I'm sorry, everything past January 1st, 1997. Confused myself on that one. So you can see our first order date is January 1st, 1997, and our last order date is May 6th, 1998. So basically, by doing the equal to operator, we are essentially saying, give me everything. Yeah, so we're saying, give me everything greater than January 1st, 1997, but also include January 1st, 1997. So the same thing would be true. Let's give a better example because these dates are kind of weird. Let's get everything where, let's get all of the orders where the order ID is greater than 1500, greater than or equal to 1500. Oop, my bad. 10,500. Okay, so you can see now we have order ID 10,500 right here, but if I remove this, equal to operator, that list will start at 10,501. So most of you guys have all most of you guys have worked with these operators before, right? So I probably don't need to explain them that much. The last one, and this is the one that can be a little confusing, right? Is that we can use the not equal operator as denoted by less than right next to greater than, and say give me everything that is not equal to order ID 10,500. And if we scroll down to that record, you'll see we go 10,499, 10,501. So we've skipped that one. Now we can also denote this as exclamation point equal to, which is saying the same thing. According to the book, we want to write it like this. So my expectation for the class is that we'll write it like this, but just so that we're aware that we can write it two different ways. So that is our comparison operators. So now I want to get into something else that I know we've talked about a little bit already, which is logical operators. And logical operators are things like and, or, not, between. I'm trying to think, what are the other ones? In, like, is null. And then we will get into, I know I mentioned a little bit of the order by clause last week, and I'll cover that a little bit more here today as well. So let's start with and, right? So we all know, we've all seen and being used. And is just a combination of two operators, right? So and is just a combination of two, not operators, but two conditions. So I could say select star from orders, if I can type today, northwind.dbo.orders, where customer ID is equal to furib and ship via is equal to 3. I don't know why it's choking on this. We'll do let's do this. I don't know why it doesn't like this. Let's see, northwind.dbo orders. So we've combined two conditions. Condition 1, customer ID is equal to furib, and condition 2, the ship via, is equal to condition 3. So essentially, we're just combining operators. So if, for example, and I think most of you guys have had logical training. I know some of you probably haven't taken any logic courses at the university, but for those of you guys that have done even elementary code work, like in Java or in C# where we have done if statements, where we've said, if this condition and that condition, then do this. We're saying the same thing in our SQL, right? So pretty self-explanatory. Now we get into, so now let's move into not. And not is fairly similar to and in that it's a logical operator, but by not, we're saying this condition is not, does not match. And so we say select star from Northwind DBO orders where customer ID is not actually no, let's do this. Customer ID not FURIB. That's a bad example. Say order date not greater than, here we go, order date not greater than 1998-12-31. Okay, so we're saying, what don't we like about this? Okay, I see what I'm doing. Where order date is greater than 1998, say 1997-12-31, and not order date less than 1998-5-1. So basically what we're doing here is we're saying order date is greater, it's from 1998, so it's greater than December 31st, 1997, but it's not from, so it's between January and April of 1998. Order date is not less than, okay, I have again confused myself. So we're saying it's greater than order date. So we're saying give us everything great where the date is greater than December 31st, 1997, and the order date is not greater than May 1st, 1998. So, did I run that? Okay, here we go. So now we're getting everything from January to April 1998. Now, I will add a disclaimer to this, to the not statement, and say, or our not discussion, and say, generally speaking, we want to try to avoid the not operator if we can help it. And the reason being is that it gets somewhat confusing. As you can see, I even confused myself with this one. So really, if we could help it, what we could do is we could rewrite this statement to not use the not operator. There's certainly a time and a place to use the not operator, but generally speaking, we want to avoid it. And basically, there's a few reasons. Basically, a not operator negates a search condition, right? So what I mean by negates is it says give me basically the opposite of it, or give me the case where this is not true. So so in our order date example, I'm saying order date is not greater than May 1st, 1998. Now, so basically we're saying basically if I remove the not operator, now we get everything where the order date is greater than May 1st, 1998, but it is also from 1998. Well, not also from 1998, where our date is greater than 1998 and our date is greater than May 1st, 1998. So you can kind of see how the not operator works. We will use the not operator a lot when we start checking for null fields, and I'll get to that in just a second. But so for right now, that's our not operators. Like I said, we generally want to try to rewrite this to not use the not operator unless we absolutely have to. And the reason I say this, right, is I can just combine my operators to say where order date is greater than December 31st, 1997, but is less than so now I could say greater than December 31st, 1997 and less than May 1st, 1998. So it's just a lot less confusing, right? So now I do want to try something real quick because I know I can do this in MySQL, but I thought I could do this in okay, we'll have to get to the between statement. Which brings us into our next point. So the between statements. So between statements are pretty much what they sound like. They or not between statements, between operators. Between operators are pretty much what they sound like. And a between operator allows us to grab values that grab records whose columns fall between two values. So select star from Northwind DBO orders where order ID between 10.808 and 10.810 and 10.810. So basically what this between statement is doing is the equivalent of less than 10, 8, 10, 10, 8, 08. So you guys have seen this in math before where we've had where we've said, okay, where a number falls less than a high number but greater than a low number. So between is just the SQL equivalent of saying that. And so we can apply this to dates, we can apply it to integers. So we can, and again, I'll get into data types later. Let's not worry too much about the data types right now. So we can write the same statement and we could say order date between 1997 5 1 and 1997 6 1. Whoa, that's weird. Let's do this. Oh, okay, I see what I did. Okay, so now I've got all the orders from May of 1997. So that's the between operator. Pretty easy to understand, pretty easy to use. So I'm going to skip over in for right now. I'm going to come back to in. So now let's get into the like operator, right? And the like operator is one of my favorite SQL operators, right? And basically, um, the like operator allows us to search for string patterns in a field, right? So let's go ahead and get our employee table on deck just for ease of doing this. If you guys think it would be helpful for me to upload some of these SQL statements from the course videos, please shoot me an email and let me know. I can certainly do that, but just let me know if you guys would like that. So select star from Northwind. Okay, I think we need to clean some of this stuff up. Actually, let's just let's create a new query here. Select star from northwind.dbo.employees. Okay, so we have our employees. And basically, the like logical operator acts somewhat like regex. And by that, I mean we have wildcard symbol, we have these wildcard operators that allow us to specify a string pattern, right? And so these wildcard operators, if you go to page 103 of the book, they're listed. I'm going to cover a few of them today, and well, I might as well just include. Yeah, I'll include the first three. Actually, I'll go ahead and include I'll go ahead and include all of them. So these operators are going to be %, dash, the brackets with a dash, and brackets with a caret. And so the % matches any string of 0 or more characters. So let me just do this. Oop. So the example here is select star from Northwind DBO employees where first name like let's say a %. And so this is going to give me back every employee whose first name starts with an A, right? Because I have placed the % after A. Whereas, do we have a case? Okay. So, whereas if I do where first name, like %T, now we're saying give me all employees whose first name ends with a T. So Janet, Margaret, and Robert. Pretty self-explanatory, right? So now the other part of this is I can search for employees who have, let's say, I I don't even think I have an example of this. Okay, yeah, let's use it. Let's use this as the example. So now what I can do is I can combine, so I can add multiple percent signs into my operator to search for cases where a substring is in my search condition, right? So I could say where title like representative. And so now this is going to give me back every employee who has the term representative in their title, right? I can do the same thing with address, and I can say road. So give me every employee who has road in their address. And this generally is not case sensitive. So I can search for road, or I could search for representative. If I search in the right column title. So that is our percent sign, and basically that just allows us to match a string of 0 or more characters. So the other part of this, or the next part, is the dash, and that matches any single character in the in our search criteria, right? So generally we're going to combine this with our percent sign, and we're going to say, oh, I don't have a really good example of this, do I? Oh, let me see. Let's just try something here. Where where first name like okay, so yeah, so now you can see, so I've wildcarded it out, right? And I've said match any first name who ends with A, and I don't care about the characters before that. Now I could also do this. Yeah, I could also do this, or I could even say, let me see. So yeah, I can match a single character. So let me try to come up with a good example here. Tell you what, let's change. Let's change. Let's change Donna's name to Laura spelled differently. So let's say update Northwind dbo.employees where set first name invalid object name. Seriously? I really hate Windows. Let's do this. Set first name equal to Laura where employee ID is equal to, actually, let's make employee ID 4 equal to Laura, right? So we've updated it, and so now if I do my select star from, let's do this, use Northwind, select star from dbo.employees. So now you can see I've got Laura and Laura. So now I can give a good example of what I'm actually looking for here in regard to this matching single character. And I think it will work like this, I think. So where first name like da, 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 okay, so as you could see, right, so I can add multiple underscores, and I could say, and it's an underscore, not a dash, I apologize, but I can add one underscore, and I can say, give me all who starts with L, ends with A, or has an L and an A with a random character in between them. Well, yeah, it would have to be ends with. Or I could do it like this, and I could say, give me every employee who has an L and who has a substring starting with L, ending with A with a random character in between. Or I could say 2 random characters, 3 random characters. So we could search like that. I don't generally use it. You can if you're getting into some complex string searching, but personally I don't generally use it. So the next one is basically matches a single character within the brackets, right? And so let's go back to let's try territories. Select star from DBO territories. Okay, that's a bad idea. Let's try region. Okay, yeah, region is a good idea. Okay, so the brackets basically allows us to specify well, region is a bad idea too. Let's try shippers. What about customers? Is there good? Okay, so this is a good example. Okay, so in customers. So what we can do is we can match a single character within a substring with our brackets. Yeah, brackets, not braces. Yeah, brackets. So we could say select all from DBO customers where customer ID like FRAN, so right here, so Frank and Franar, Frankenversand and France Restauration? Okay, whatever. And I could say I am okay with this being either Frank or Fran R. So see, I've pulled back both of those records. Now, the dash works pretty similarly as well, only so we can add a dash to that, and we can pull back records that have that start with Fran and end with any character from A to Z. So as you can see, I pull back Frank, I pull back Fran R, and I pull back Franz. Whereas before, I'm saying give me only either R or K, or R or S. There's no delineation. We literally are just putting our characters in here. So pretty simple. So now the caret operator that I mentioned, basically we prepend our range operator. So R through S, R through Z, not, or caret. And so what this is saying give me customer ID that starts with Fran, ends with any character except for those from R through Z. So I get Frank. Or I can say T through Z. Say S through Z. So pretty self-explanatory. We can also use this on, yeah, so so this is one, again, there's multiple ways to rewrite this. There's several different ways to skin this cat, so to speak. Personally, I don't use these operators, but because I find that there's easier ways to achieve the same result, but I know some people like them, so we have to cover them. So now we're going to go to our next operator, which is, I skipped over in, and actually let's go to null. Let's skip over in again and go to null. Okay, so let's do select star from Northwind DBO orders. What? DBO orders. Okay, because I've already called the use operator. Okay, so this is our orders table, and if we scroll down to ship date, you can see we have these rows where ship date is null. And what null means is null basically is the database default for there's no entry. Right? So it's just like in Java, you have null. It's like in Python, you have none. SQL has null. And so what we can do is I can pull back from all orders where shipped date is null. So now I've pulled back all of my orders that were never shipped. Or, and this is the good example of the not operator I was talking about, I can say is not null. So now I get all of the orders that are not null. Pretty self-explanatory, pretty easy to use. Obviously, we can combine the is null with another operator, right? So I can say find me all orders where ship date is null and customer ID is equal to Ernst. So Ernst had 2 incompleted orders. But now I can go through and say, did they have any completed orders? Yes, they had a lot of completed orders. Cool. Pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. So finally, we're going to get into the in operator, right? And this is where we start getting into basic table joins, which I'm going to cover in my next video. So the in operator allows us to combine 2 tables to pull specific data back, right? And if we recall from foreign keys and primary keys, when I went over the basics of SQL, we remember that two tables can store related data about each other in the form of foreign key, primary key, or many-to-many, one-to-many relationships with a tertiary table. And so if we look at our orders table and we find the ship region, select star from orders where ship region is not null. So now I have this ship region. Wait. Maybe that. I apologize. I'm still getting acquainted to the Northwind schema setup here. Okay, and then we'll say select all from regions. Region ID. So where does okay, here's a better idea. Okay. So select star from products. Actually, let's see. Let's do this. Employee territories. Oh, let's do shippers maybe? Region territories. Okay. So here's a good example. All right. So what we can do with the in operator, make sure we're still recording, which we are. So what I can do with the in operator is I can say, give me, let's talk it out first. Give me every territory where, give me every territory that is in region 1 and 2, right? So first let's look at our regions, right? So we'll say select star from region. Okay, so I have 4 regions: Eastern, Western, Northern, and Southern. So now what I can do, right, is I can say select, well, first let's pull up our territories table. Okay, so I know region ID is the foreign key in our territories table. Whoops. And if I do design, you see now I have a region ID, and this isn't a constraint, obviously. So region ID, and just getting my column names. Okay. So now I can say, all right, so give me everything from territory, or from territories where region ID in, with a parentheses, open and close parentheses, select region ID from region where region description is equal to northern, or region description is equal to southern. So what the in operator does is it allows us to run a subquery and pull back certain values to match. Right? So what I've done is if we look at our subquery first, you can see I've got region ID 3 or 4. And so what I'm doing with this SQL is I'm basically saying, give me all territories where the region ID is equal to 3 or 4. But I'm basically presenting this as a list. So I'm saying, give me all territories where the region ID is in this list. And so by doing that, I'm able to specify a subquery. So now I'm getting back all territories where region ID is 3 or 4. And I should also be able to do this as an actual list. So basically this is the same, this SQL right here is the same as this list, the difference being this is a hard-coded list and this is a SQL query. So if these region IDs were to ever change, which in theory they shouldn't, but you never know, these records would not always be pulled back. Whereas if I use the SQL, these records are always going to be pulled back as long as there's a northern and southern region. And I can do this in an exclusionary way as well, right? So I can also use not, and I can say, give me all territories where region ID is not in this list of territories whose description matches northern or southern. So I run that and now I get region ID 1 and 2 instead of region IDs 3 and 4. So pretty self-explanatory. And then the last thing I want to cover, and I think I covered it last week as well, but I just want to cover it one more time for a further in a little bit more detail. And so let's do select star from orders. And so what the order by does, if we recall, the order of orders are records, right? But I can combine a couple different operators or not operators, but I can make this work out a little bit better. I can get my data ordered a little bit better by combining columns and by using ascending and descending. So I can say select orders, select all from orders, order by customer ID. And so now now we have our customer IDs, but if we look, our orders are somewhat out of date, right? Or out of sequence, right? So like customer ID, Anna TR has an order from March 4th, 1998, listed before an order from 1997. So now I can stack order date and order customer ID and order date together. And now if we look, now our data is ordered by customer ID and order date. And we can obviously continue to do this. We can continue to stack these until we get the data ordered the way that we want. And we can do this ascending or descending, right? So ascending starts with A and lists the order date first, or the earliest order date first. But if I do it by descending, now I'm getting, what was I going to say? So I can specify ascending for one column and descending for the other. So now I'm still getting customer ID in alphabetical order, but now I'm getting the newest orders first. But if I set both of these to descending, now I'm getting the alphabetical last customer first with their newest order. Or I can say order date ascending, and I can get the alphabetical customer alphabetical last customer first, and the earliest order date first. So that's how we combine our order by statements. And then one more thing I want to go over, which is the distinct operator. And the distinct operator is pretty easy to use, and this just removes duplicates. So what I can do is I can say select, well, first let's do select star from orders, and let's see, yeah, let's do select star from order. Let's do distinct customer ID. Let's combine a couple more. Ship name, ship address, ship city, order date, ship date. Let's do, get rid of that and see if that makes it any easier. Okay, so so now what I've done is I have pulled, so now this is actually doing what I'm wanting, and so it's just removing duplicates. So what I can do is I can also say distinct order, let's do this. Oop. Okay, so I guess I can combine them. Anyway, I can use distinct to pull back unique records from a table. So I could pull back just my distinct customers, or I could pull back distinct customer IDs. I could pull back distinct dates, so I can pull back only individual dates. So I can pull back, instead of pulling back 5,000 dates, I can pull back 500 dates. So basically, I can remove duplicates with distinct. So pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. Distinct would be a good one to combine with our in logical operator, and I'll probably probably post some. We'll probably have some examples of that in our next video. So that is it for operators and logical operators. So I'm going to go ahead and get this video uploaded and get started on the next one.